This detailed panorama of 10 emblematic figures, and one unforeseen case, invites us to dive into the complexity of their existence. Between anatomical feats, medical challenges, and psychological resilience, we will discover how these individuals marked history and contributed, despite themselves, to advancing our perspective on difference. Subscribe for more educational and fascinating videos. Number 10. Edward Mordache, The Mystery of Duality. The story of Edward Mordache is undoubtedly one of the most melancholy accounts in medical annals and circus folklore. According to legend, this young English nobleman, of exemplary erudition and remarkable musical talent, was afflicted with a condition that modern science still struggles to classify: the presence of a second face located at the back of his skull. From a medical point of view, if this account is true, it could have been a case of Craniopagus parasiticus, a parasitic twin, or diprosopus, facial duplication. Accounts from the time describe a rudimentary entity, incapable of eating but manifesting emotions. Mordache's tragedy lay in the psychological perception of this condition. He claimed that this second face whispered sinister words during the silence of the night, preventing him from finding rest. Faced with the helplessness of 19th century medicine, which was unable to perform a removal without mortal risk, Mordache sank into absolute solitude. His existence became a poignant testimony to the struggle between identity and anatomy. His life ended prematurely, leaving behind a legend that continues to fascinate authors and researchers, illustrating the immense psychological weight that a physical singularity, misunderstood by its time, can represent. Number 9. Grady Stiles, Strength Beyond Anomaly. Grady Stiles, world-renowned under the pseudonym Lobster Boy, embodies a complex figure where genetics meets a will of iron. Stiles suffered from ectrodactyly, a rare hereditary pathology that results in the absence of certain fingers or toes, giving the limbs the appearance of claws. Far from being an isolated case, Grady came from a lineage of performers who had transformed this anomaly into a true family legacy. While his condition forbade conventional walking, Stiles adapted spectacularly. To compensate, he developed a phenomenal upper body musculature, using his arms to move with disconcerting agility. In the circus arena, his presence was electrifying. However, behind the curtain, Stiles' life was marked by an imperious personality. His physical strength, initially a survival tool, became the reflection of a sometimes volcanic temperament. His journey highlights the dichotomy between the attraction the performer exerted on the public and the human reality of a man who refused to be defined solely by his disability, choosing to lead his life by his own rules, sometimes in defiance of social conventions. Number 8. Liu Chung, The Gaze of Double Pupils. Liu Chung established himself in the collective imagination thanks to an ocular characteristic so rare that it was long considered a legend: pupilla duplex or polychoria. Each iris of this man seemed to house two distinct pupils, a condition that gave his gaze an absolutely fascinating depth and visual complexity. In ancient China, this phenomenon was not perceived as an infirmity, but as a sign of high distinction or even clairvoyance. Spectators of the time were convinced that Liu Chung possessed extrasensory perception, capable of seeing invisible details or perceiving several dimensions simultaneously. The way light reflected in his eyes created an effect of perpetual movement, making his eye contact almost hypnotic. Although modern science suggests that such cases may result from colobomas or iris divisions, the aura of mystery surrounding Liu Chung remains intact. He knew how to use this gift of nature to cultivate an image of wisdom and foresight, proving that a simple biological variation can transform an individual into an object of quasi-divine fascination. Number 7. Martin Lorello, The Engineering of the Human Body. Martin Lorello, nicknamed the Human Owl, pushed the limits of vertebral flexibility to a level that anatomical science deemed impossible. Unlike other members on this list, Lorello's ability was not entirely congenital. It was the result of intensive and systematic training started at a very young age. Lorello was able to rotate his skull 180 degrees, facing his back without his shoulders moving. This feat required deliberate manipulation of the cervical muscles and ligaments, allowing the vertebrae to be shifted out of alignment in a controlled manner. On stage, he adopted a phlegmatic attitude, accentuating the shock of the spectators when he triggered his rotation with disconcerting fluidity. Beyond the spectacular aspect, Lorello was a true professional of stagecraft, integrating a theatrical dimension into his act. His global success testifies to the public's fascination with overcoming physical constraints and the capacity of the human will to remodel the very structure of the body to achieve the extraordinary. Number 6. Jean Libera, The Dignity of a Shared Destiny. Jean Libera, often referred to as the man with the parasitic twin, carried on his chest a rare anatomical protrusion consisting of a partially formed body, the vestige of a twin brother who had never fully developed in utero. This phenomenon, known as fetus in fetu or parasitic twin, is an extremely rare complication of embryonic development. Unlike many performers of his time who were exploited, Libera approached this condition with remarkable dignity. He presented himself with neat sartorial elegance, not hesitating to reveal his anatomy to educate and fascinate his public, while calmly explaining the rarity of his pathology. This physical cohabitation imposed by nature never prevented him from leading an active life, marrying, and raising a family. He became an international star, sought after by major medical institutions for case studies. His journey is an example of resilience, illustrating how a major biological anomaly can be transcended by charisma and strength of character. Number 5. Peter Robinson, The Aesthetics of Fragility. Peter Robinson, famous under the name The Living Skeleton, offered the public an almost ethereal vision of human physiology. Characterized by an almost total absence of adipose tissue and muscle mass, his appearance gave the impression of a moving skeletal structure under thin skin. Despite this appearance of extreme fragility, which might have suggested a devastating illness, Robinson enjoyed surprising health and overflowing vitality. He participated actively in circus life and interacted with the audience with great humor. The doctors of the time, unable to diagnose the exact cause of his ultra-fast metabolism, considered him a living mystery. Robinson succeeded in transforming his gaunt silhouette into a true artistic signature. He often used visual contrast by standing alongside strongmen, thereby highlighting the incredible diversity of forms the human body can take. His story reminds us that vitality does not always depend on apparent robustness. Number 4. Lucia Zarate, The Grandeur of a Miniature Icon. Lucia Zarate remains one of the most memorable figures in circus history due to her exceptionally small stature, being recognized as the smallest adult who ever lived. Suffering from a rare form of primordial dwarfism, Lucia weighed less than 3 kilograms as an adult, her height hardly exceeding that of a newborn. However, this tiny dimension was by no means synonymous with weakness or passivity. Lucia was endowed with a sharp intelligence, a sparkling personality, and undeniable artistic talent. On stage, she captivated the audience with her graceful dances and witty interactions, shattering the image of the fragile porcelain doll that the public expected to see. She traveled across continents, meeting heads of state and members of royalty, becoming one of the best-paid performers of her time. Her life highlights the challenges inherent in an existence spent in a world designed for giants, but it also bears witness to an immense force of will. Lucia Zarate proved that the value and impact of a human being are in no way proportional to their physical size, but reside in the ability to occupy media and cultural space with panache. Number 3. Joseph Merrick. Nobility of soul behind appearance. The story of Joseph Merrick, world-renowned as the Elephant Man, is undoubtedly the most poignant chronicle of the human condition. Afflicted with massive deformities, now attributed to Proteus syndrome, Merrick spent a large part of his youth exhibited as a curiosity, enduring the scorn of crowds. Yet, behind this appearance that frightened the uninitiated, was hidden a man of exquisite sensitivity and vast culture. His meeting with Dr. Frederick Treves was the turning point of his life. Treves discovered in Merrick a poet, a lover of literature, and a meticulous builder of models. Merrick became a universal symbol of the struggle for human dignity. His existence forced Victorian society to confront its prejudices about beauty and normality. His legacy continues to inspire respect and compassion, reminding us that the essence of an individual lies far beyond appearances, in the depths of a luminous soul. Number 2. Myrrhine Dajot, the transcendent dance of pain. Important note, the feats of Myrrhine Dajot are presented here for historical purposes. They involve extreme risks and must under no circumstances be reproduced. Myrrhine Dajot distinguished himself through demonstrations of invulnerability that left the medical profession in total perplexity. His performance consisted of letting his torso be pierced by foils, the blades visibly passing through his internal organs without causing bleeding or immediate infection. Dajot claimed to have achieved such mental mastery that he could manipulate the matter of his own body. To prove the reality of his feats, he submitted to numerous X-ray examinations in a hospital setting. The doctors confirmed, to their great bewilderment, that the weapons indeed passed through vital areas. Dajot did not consider himself a sideshow performer, but a messenger of the power of the mind over the flesh. His case remains one of the most documented and least explained in human physiology, questioning our certainties about the limits of survival and sensory perception. Number 1. Alice Elizabeth Doherty, the grace of the woolly girl. Alice Elizabeth Doherty occupied a unique place in the world of entertainment thanks to a characteristic of strange beauty: hypertrichosis lanuginosa. From birth, her face and body were covered with a silky blonde fur, giving her the appearance of a mystical creature. Unlike other conditions that could provoke unease, Alice emanated an aura of gentleness that fascinated the public. Her condition was celebrated as a marvel of nature. She was often presented in refined settings that highlighted the unique texture of her golden wool. Despite her early fame, Alice remained a discreet person, living her difference with remarkable serenity. Her life illustrates how biological rarity can be transformed into an object of aesthetic admiration. Alice Doherty remaining in memories as the symbol of a nature capable of creating totally unprecedented forms of beauty. Number 11. The Case of Victor and Eleonore, a dystopia of anomaly. To conclude this panorama, let us evoke the fascinating but darker story of Victor, nicknamed the Man with Four Arms. In a quasi-dystopian historical context, Victor became the prototype of what some called the human motor. His case was studied not for medical science, but to imagine tenfold productivity. At his side, Eleonore and her double face defied all classification. No doctor of her time could name her syndrome. In this particular vision of history, anomaly dictated its own law. Humanity, faced with these extraordinary beings, oscillated between the temptation of mechanization and fascination for the indecipherable. These figures, although less documented, remind us that anomaly has always been the mirror in which society projects its own fears and its own ambitions. These life trajectories illustrate the fascinating diversity of the human experience. Far beyond simple spectacle, these individuals forced science and society to reconsider the limits of body and mind. They are not merely curiosities of the past, but pioneers of resilience who, by their simple existence, paved the way for a better understanding of human biology. By telling their story today, we restore to them the dignity and the place they deserve in the great tapestry of humanity.